One of the most recognizable dinosaurs is the plate-backed, spike-tailed Stegosaurus. Any one of us that grew up loving dinosaurs certainly had a toy of this guy. I haven't done very many illustrations of Stegosaurus, so I figured it would be a good choice to start this series with. Stegosaurus were herbivorous dinosaurs that lived in the late Jurassic, about 155 million to 145 million years ago. These odd-looking creatures would grow over 23 feet long and weigh over 4 tons. It was first discovered in Colorado in 1877 by Othniel Charles Marsh. Marsh was one of the 2 prominent paleontologists engaged in the Bone Wars, a subject I'm not going to go into here, but certainly deserves its own video in the future. The fossils were first mounted in 1910 and displayed in the Yale Peabody Museum in New Haven, Connecticut. All remains of Stegosaurus are found in the Morrison Formation in North America that stretches from Montana to New Mexico. Now, despite how popular the animal is, we really don't know as much about it as you'd think. Now, I could be wrong, but I believe there are fossils that have been collected from around 80 potential individuals. However, there are only 6 incomplete skeletons. The most complete of these, nicknamed Sophie, is displayed at the Natural History Museum in London, England. The Sophie represents a subadult of one of 3 recognized species of Stegosaurus called Stegosaurus stenops. Another species, such as the holotype discovered by Marsh, is Stegosaurus undulatus, seen here displayed at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. But for my illustration, I'll be basing it off of an adult specimen of Stegosaurus stenops, such as this one, mounted in this excellent display at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science in Colorado. This is by far my favorite mount I've seen of a Stegosaurus. It depicts it defending its young from a menacing Allosaurus in a way where you can really get a good look at both animals. When I'm going to do a paleo illustration, it's really important that I see the fossils of the animal in person and not just pictures of it off the internet. Which is why anytime I visit a natural history museum, I spend a lot of time observing, filming, and photographing the mounts. But I can't completely rely on museum displays because a lot of them might be old or outdated. Also, fossils alone don't give you much indication of a lot of the external features of an animal. Just for a quick example, this skull, which looks like it might belong to some sort of crazy mythological cyclops monster, is actually the skull of an elephant. So I'll talk a little bit more about looking to nature for inspiration later. The next step in this process, I usually will look to some sort of physical representation of the animal, like a scientific art model, such as this one from PNSO. This allows me to view the shape of the animal in 3 dimensions, and models also give me a lighting reference if I need it. Then I hit the books. I have a large collection of dinosaur material spanning from the late 1970s to the present day. I find that I'm more inspired by illustrations from the 80s and the 90s than some of our modern paleo art. That doesn't mean that these illustrations are better. They're certainly not up to date, but there is just a distinct mood and feel that I like to a lot of it, that I don't get in a lot of modern paleo art. William Stout is one of my absolute all-time favorite artists, and I joke a lot that I learned how to draw dinosaurs by basically ripping him off. The final step is I'll do some of my own research. I'll read books, blogs, or watch videos from modern paleo artists and consultants such as Scott Hartman, Mark Witten, or Brian Ang, people whose devotion to scientifically recreating these animals I really respect. Also, they are far, far better artists than I will ever be. Now that I have a fairly good idea of the animal in my head, it's time to start drawing. This is where I will start to pull inspiration from nature to add a few speculative touches to my interpretation. This skull of a cassowary doesn't give us any clear picture of what the head crest actually looks like on the living animal, nor does it give us any indication of what the keratinous sheath that covers it looks like, or what it might look like on different individuals. Keeping that in mind, the famous plates on the back of Stegosaurus aren't attached to the animal's spine, but grow out of the skin, like osteoderms. Osteoderms are bony-like structures that form on an animal's skin, like what you see on crocodilians. For Stegosaurus, these are very exaggerated osteoderms that were covered in keratin. Now, S. undulatus had different shaped plates than S. stenops, and more recent reconstructions of the keratinous sheath on undulatus depict them forming sharp, dangerous-looking points. But when it comes to reconstructing the plates of stenops, seems paleo-artists just kind of stick to the more traditional, rounded appearance that has identified Stegosaurus in pop culture for decades. But I have to wonder if the plates of stenops didn't have some form of sharp points on them as well. I mean, you have to remember Stegosaurus might have been on the dinner menu for not only Allosaurus, but other big competing Jurassic theropods such as Torvosaurus and Ceratosaurus. So it's clear Stegosaurus were into defense. So it's not unreasonable to think that the plates on stenops might have been a bit intimidating in appearance. Now, for this illustration of the head, I incorporated a very speculative but scientifically plausible element. I gave my Stegosaurus a long giraffe-like tongue. Now, I know this might seem odd since a giraffe is a tall, tree-grazing animal, and Stegosaurus clearly was not, but the actual function of a giraffe's tongue is to reach in between thorns that grow on many of the trees that they feed off of and pluck the leaves out that they eat. According to a 2010 Smithsonian Magazine article, Stegosaurus was thought to have a very weak bite. Further browsing, however, revealed a University of Bristol press release from 2016 that claimed the bite was stronger than originally thought and more comparable to that of a sheep or a cow. Well, that doesn't sound very strong to me, considering that Stegosaurus could grow into a 4-ton animal, but maybe it didn't need to be. The diet of Stegosaurus probably consisted of softer plants, such as ferns and horsetails. Perhaps a long prehensile tongue would allow it to pluck its favorite food from among a salad of other, maybe undesirable Jurassic flora. Now, these cheek-like structures I really have no idea about. The prevalent opinion amongst paleontologists is that Stegosaurus didn't chew its food, rather used its teeth to break it up so it could be swallowed. Then it would swallow stones called gastroliths to grind up the vegetation in its gut. The tongue might have come in handy here as well. So it may not have had cheeks at all. I basically just included them here because it seems a lot of modern paleo artists still do as well. So that's it for part 1, Stegosaurus. I hope you enjoyed it. The museum I'd like to plug in this episode is the Denver Museum of Nature and Science in Denver, Colorado. The first thing you will see when you enter the main hall is a Tyrannosaurus mounted in this kicking stance. It's pretty awesome. Not sure if the actual animal would be able to rock back that far or not, but what do I know? The dinosaurs are in an exhibit called Prehistoric Journey. In addition to the Allosaurus and Stegosaurus, there is a great Diplodocus and Edmontosaurus on display. So if you're in Denver, be sure to check it out. There is a link to their website in the description. And lastly, if you like this video, maybe give us a like and hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments what you think. Also, if any paleo artists just happen to stumble across this video, I love feedback. Your critique would be welcomed and much appreciated. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.